it's just so distinct, and it comes out of nowhere that I feel like it has to be from something. It just absolutely has to be from something. It's
for sure
that handheld is supposed to be Lorelai's POV. It's supposed to be we're seeing from her eyes. So I'm sure that there's some famous film that has a scene like that is from the eyes of somebody at a dinner table. I'm sure of it now. Like, we have to find it. we have to find it. Let's do our detective work. So thanks, Samantha.
The WB also put that whole last 5 minutes online before the episode aired. I don't know if anybody else remembers that.
I remember that.
I don't remember that because I wasn't watching the show. All right.
No. We know that, man.
Unfortunately, the Instagram live feed is having a problem connecting. So if you need to get the time code, you're going to need the app. So that's the only thing that I'll say. Everybody who's here on the couch has done this before, so you all know the rules. If you are joining us for the first time, the most important thing that you need to know is that you need your episode fast forwarded to and paused at the 1 minute and 1 second mark, or 1 minute 2 second mark. That's where I have it. Just have it paused there because we're going to all press our play buttons at the same time on the count of 3. Are we ready to do that?
Let's do it.
All good.
Let's go.
I'm ready.
Yep.
All right. I'm going into You've Been Gilmored on the app. We're going to do this on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
IMDb says that it's based on Husband and Wives by Woody Allen, by the way.
Yes. Look at that detective work.
I do like that this starts off with another Friday night dinner after we just watched that last.
That's what I was saying. But no one
Oh,
heard
you
me.
did? I'm sorry. I didn't hear you, Josh. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I was like, I said it twice.
I was totally distracted before we started.
Oh, you're fine. I just found it funny.
Since I've been a florist these last like 4 or 5 years, every time I watch these scenes, I just look at how many fresh flowers are in this house and how much money that would be every week just on flowers.
I just got a targeted ad for this place that'll deliver you like fresh flowers every week for like relatively cheap, and I'm seriously considering it.
Ooh. It's literally like watching a group of people like practice for a play. It's so
Poor Richard.
Who else loves shrimp? Awkward.
June 3rd.
June 3rd. It's like the donkey dinner scene in Shrek. June 3rd.
Look at her asking if Lorelai might be pregnant.
Were you called beer and nitwit juice?
It was their wedding, wouldn't it have been the last time they saw him?
Oh yeah.
What would a zoo be auctioning?
An animal?
Animals.
I think it's an
Ah!
auction to support the zoo,
Yes,
not
to support the zoo.
auction.
Come
of
buy
the
an
zoo.
elephant.
Put a chimpanzee. How much are we getting for?
There it is.
That was funny.
That's a good opening.
I love
That's
how
one of
she
my
aggressively
favorite.
takes a bite of her salad.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm so glad that they reinstated Friday night dinners. It's really part of the show.
Yeah, we would get a lot less of the elder Gilmores without it.
There
We wouldn't get the
are
fun dance.
there are YouTube videos that are just that categorize just Friday night dinners, but by season. And they're like 5-minute videos or something like that.
I mean, maybe if Emily went on like vacation and we only had Friday night dinner with Richard, I wouldn't mind it.
Oh my God, Lily.
Lily.
Pisses me off.
Look, she was just trying to be supportive of Lorelai in that last
Wait a
one,
second.
and
Is she putting tater tots on those
Yes,
pizzas?
Yes.
She is.
Okay,
People in
hold
the
up.
fandom do that
Yep.
now.
That is so nasty because it comes out soggy. It's not good. I do not recommend you put
Did
it
you
around.
try
Did you
it?
try it,
pizza.
Carl?
Yeah, did you
Did you
try
try
it,
tater
Carl?
tots on
When I was 7 and I didn't know how to cook, like that's what a 7-year-old does. You don't do that as a grown adult. What? It comes out.
A lot of people in the fandom have tried it. I don't like tater tots, so it's
The
What
What was that that you
Mandy.
just took out of those boxes?
What?
As a person
Mandy.
who loves all things potato, tater tots are one of my favorites.
Slaps. I totally agree.
The key is to pre-cook the tater tots. You want to get the tater tots crispy first, then you put them on the
100%,
You would know,
John.
right,
I
John?
agree.
or you just don't put them on the pizza.
potato on pizza is not bad.
Yeah,
But
they
you
make
know
baked
what?
potato pizzas, you know. Have you ever had a baked potato pizza? It's good.
Mashed potatoes as the base is so good.
It's actually very
I'm out.
common in Asian countries to put potatoes on pizza. But you know, I get y'all are gonna disagree with me because I like pineapple.
Oh, is this the reason
with
why
you,
we had a
Lily.
Solaris? Is this
Yep.
the reason why we had a
Yeah.
Solaris watch recently?
Yep.
Yep.
For this reference, it wasn't a reference
Yes.
of Solaris earlier.
Mm-mm.
Lily, I also eat pineapple on my pizza, just so you know. You have at least one.
That's
I
that's
do
a
too.
sacrilege. That's a
I
sacrilege.
love
what?
pineapple
No,
on
Mister,
not
I'm gonna put
John.
tater tots on
Yeah,
my
John,
pizza.
I agree.
It's a salty, sweet, yummy, good.
It's
Literally, oh my god.
Oh my God.
Keep in mind,
Well, I
I'm
guess.
from Minnesota.
Well, actually, you know what? I guess technically, John, we technically don't have any room to talk because we like the ice cream on top of the Cheetos thing.
Yeah, guys, like stop with the judgment.
I'm gonna still judge, but
Judge with
Whiplash.
awareness.
Right?
Don't take them to the library. I love that like half of them are still wearing their numbered hats though.
You know what I didn't realize? I don't know if y'all mentioned this, but one of the people in the Yale Daily News is on the television series Community.
Which one are you referring to?
The only guy in there that is Southeast Asian.
Yeah, Raj.
Sorry. Yes, thank you, Raj.
Yeah. I actually didn't recognize him because he's so much younger. He looks younger.
I feel like
Right.
he looks pretty much the same there. He's ageless. I feel like he still looks the same now as he did in Community.
You're right, Megan. It seems like the dude just doesn't age.
I guess I think he looks more mature now. Or maybe I'm just like influenced by his role on Mythic Quest.
What is
This
Paris
bunker
doing?
is definitely something that is serial
She's
killer.
So
cooking soup.
dangerous.
No, the thing that
cooking
upsets
soup
me
on
is
a
that
campsite.
the thing that upsets me about this is that, okay, Paris is adding seasoning, but the only seasoning we're seeing her add is
Salt. The worst freaking season. Right.
like Paris. I expected Paris to, know her seasonings. Hello, Nanny. She's from Portugal. Man.
Yeah, Nanny did all the cooking. Paris hasn't cooked.
I expected her to learn from Nanny.
Who's going to be the next editor?
You're gonna have to find out, John.
Who do you think, John? I was trying to remember if she was going to become a lawyer, but I guess she's not. It would be more funny if she became a lawyer and then went on to How to Get Away with Murder as a lawyer.
But
Right?
she would make a much more bigger judge, better judge, because of the way she likes to judge everything.
She's like a more dangerous Matilda. She didn't even get a pot to put it in.
I love Paris.
Same.
Oh, Rory feels bad.
Of course, that's her friend.
I feel bad too.
Paris is. She can be neurotic, but she's pretty.
She was not made to be a boss like that, but it's still sad.
So Nikki wanted me to relay that she thinks it's odd that Doyle isn't around for some of this paper stuff, considering that he lives.
And my headphones just went out.
Didn't he graduate though?
Yeah, but he's still around with Paris.
Yeah, Doyle's still part of the paper. When they announced that Paris was going to be editor, he said he was going back to writing full time. So I think this like he's still in school.
Maybe all this happened and he was like, I don't want to lose my girlfriend, so I'm just gonna exit here.
Have you noticed that that Michelle's pants are very baggy at the very bottom.
Are very what?
You mean the way they sit on his shoes?
Yeah, the way they sit on the shoes are they kind of bunch up there at the bottom.
Isn't that a particular cut though? Like
Yeah, it
style?
is. It is. It is. I'm
Well,
just
he
pointing
says
it
he
out.
likes Donna Karen suits.
Maybe as he ages, he doesn't want to have the tight pants as much.
I have to say, 6 seasons in, I I would really love an episode that is very Michelle centric.
Same.
I feel like we haven't really gotten one.
The closest we got was when his mother came to visit, and we learned a little bit more about him.
Yes, that one very early in the show, and then the one with the camper that he purchased or that he got as a prize. That was the closest, but even that episode seemed kind of peripheral.
And it's kind of surprising that they haven't done that for somebody who's like a title card character,
Exactly. I mean, they've done that for Kirk multiple times.
Like we
And
see
I'm just
Suki's
surprised.
home life. We know about her background a bit. We never
they
learn that
made
much
big
about
episodes
Michelle.
out of Suki. They've made big episodes out of Suki's life, but they haven't really done that for Michelle. I'm curious.
John, this is important.
John, they're
Yes.
voting. They're voting for the editor. Who do you vote for?
I have a feeling they're going to vote.
I think I'm gonna go for Cassie.
It's Casey.
I thought it was Cassie and Casey.
It was Kathy and Casey.
I'm going to say Rory gets it. I'm going to put that down. Rory gets it.
You sure? Because it could be Bill.
John, when you were talking about
How
other
many
stuff-
kernels
way.
did I win? How many kernels did I win, Carl? Did you are you sending me some kernels now?
No.
John, have you realized
Hold
that
on.
her John, have you realized that her hair's shorter and less red? Or is it just me?
No, I didn't.
About the Michelle thing, I think it might be intentional because I don't think that Lorelai and Suki and that know much about Michelle's personal life.
Exactly.
Oh, it's like watching it for the first time. I forgot all about. Hello, Johnny.
This is Francie 2.0.
When she pulled that, did you notice that the whole wall kind of moved?
Yo.
When she opened,
Yep.
Super strength.
she opened
She's got
the door,
super
the whole set kind of shook a little bit. Who's Parker?
Oh, he's upset that
The old
that Luke
handyman.
replaced Parker,
He's
the old
the
handyman.
original handyman.
He must have been his friend.
Yes. Friends.
Lily, wait.
His work friend, Lily. Friends up.
I know. It just reminds me of the whole and they were best friends sort of
They
stuff we find
always
in
did
like
that
old
to
literature.
them. Oh my god, they always did that with lesbian storylines. It was
They died in the same house and they were best friends.
the fact that they did that. Oh my god, they did that up until like the very early 2000s too.
They were roommates.
Tell that to Xena and Gabrielle.
You talking about Bert and Ernie?
I'm talking about Xena and Gabrielle. I'm talking about
John, did you hear that?
Carl and stuff.
John, did you hear that?
I think he's
might have
listening.
both
That's
his
why he's
ears
not
open.
talking.
That-
Okay, good.
I'm listening to it. That he's asking her to move in with her, or
Sweet.
move in with him.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Just making sure.
Okay.
I think I missed a bunch of it now.
No, that's the gist of the conversation.
It really is.
The gist of the conversation is, will you move in with me? I don't know. You sure? Come on. Really? Yes. Okay. Sure.
Perfect
You sure?
summary.
Literally, John, that's it. That's the
It's a very long scene for that being the whole conversation.
John,
This
it's
coming
like
from a
half of
man who like
Michelle
sulked
episode.
over being yelled at by Lorelai.
I mean, Luke also invested $75,000 into this inn, so he's got a little more right than Michelle.
Ah, it's about Lorelai.
yes.
Oh,
I forgot.
this. Oh,
I know.
see, he's such an awesome character. He's such a deep, rich character. That's why I'm saying I can't believe that we haven't gotten a full episode with him like at the center.
I blame the
The center?
WB.
What center?
Well, maybe not like the center, but just like an episode that's like very focused
There-
on Michelle.
There was the Price is Right episode where with the RV.
Yeah, I was saying the
Um,
Price is Right episode was the closest, I guess, that we've gotten for it, but it still felt a little peripheral. And then when his mom came into town, that was also
This one's kind of almost 50-50 because he's in quite a bit of this.
Yeah, but it only relates to his life with Lorelai. We never see any of his actual home life or anything like that.
yeah, I would love that.
That would be great.
I bet that there's some great Michelle fan fiction out there.
100%.
I hope so.
I'm gonna pull up AO3 and check.
What? Rory.
I love how she thinks her parents would like this stuff. It's just
Shows them all the things she loves and they just don't quite get.
I mean, David Sutcliffe is a good-looking man.
I
Oh.
disagree, but that's okay.
There are only 40 works with the tag Michelle Gerard on AO3.
I wonder
but
how
because
that.
this
I
woman-
wonder how that professor would feel about the kernel system.
I don't even know what to say to that, John.
They're fungible. They're fungible.
Somebody just asked.
They do not fail the scarcity test.
Somebody just asked if the Remarcus timer was behind.
The Remarcus timer is behind by a minute. I just realized that. Hold on,
Okay.
I actually
I'll let him know.
might be able. I actually might be able to. I
Hey,
can
pay
fix that.
attention,
Hold on.
guys.
The timer is now up to speed. If they just press the little refresh button, it'll be up to speed now.
You know,
Thanks for
Tasha, if you do find David Sutcliffe attractive, you should watch his movie Testosterone.
I mean,
Paris? My roommate
I could, but I mean, he's not like the end all be all.
I mean, you see a lot of him in that movie. I'm just saying.
I would take Milo over him any day.
Alright. Sorry, you guys.
We should watch This Is Us. It opens with a very revealing scene of Milo.
Oh,
Okay, you
watched
guys. Stop. Stop. I just refuse to believe that all of that happened in the same day that she's talking to him.
Our friends on Discord feel like we're being extra quiet. And so Mark wanted me to let you all know they say abracadabra.
Hi, Mark.
I was really quiet in last episode because I was really focused on all of the dialogue. This episode, I don't know really exactly why I'm not as chatty, but I can certainly be chatty. I can just talk through this entire scene.
Okay, let's just chill. Good old
A
2000s
home
TV
theater
talk.
guy.
Yeah, John, don't you have a home theater guy? It's a thing. People should get one.
I'm the home theater guy in this household.
Those guys really existed though. They'd go in and set up the whole surround sound and everything. When this was all
Yeah,
new, I remember that. It
I'm
was a
not
big
sure if they're relevant today, but yeah, they
So this is important because this is sort of showing how similar these two characters
Yeah,
are.
it's a very good bonding moment.
Yep, that's exactly it.
you guys ever notice that? I mean, maybe this is something odd, but I've never seen Christopher drink alcohol, except for like that one isolated time that he drank at the wedding.
And the
He
time
did-
when he and Lorelai were going to make Rory.
And after his father died, and every time he's been at the Gilmores.
Well, I mean, with when his father died, we didn't see it. But I mean, I don't know. Never mind. I guess that was just a thing in my head for just like a split second.
I mean, they
Sorry.
really are very similar. They have a very similar vernacular. They like kind of have the same rhythm, the same
Yeah,
kind
they're
of way of
similar
joking.
mannerisms.
Is that the new Xbox 360? Oh my god!
I still have my Xbox 360 because I never got around to upgrading.
Same.
So
Yeah,
behind in my gaming world.
an Xbox 360 at the time that this was showing would have been like the equivalent of a PlayStation 5.
Super hard to get
like,
back then.
Really hard to get. Like, yeah.
Anybody else remember that thing GameFly where you'd get games for your Xbox like delivered and
Oh
you'd send them
yeah,
back after like
GameFly
a
was
week?
basically the Netflix of. It was the Netflix.
Yeah.
of games.
And I think it came out maybe even before Netflix did.
I
Well, I
really
mean,
don't
Netflix
like this
has been
outfit
around
she's
for quite a
wearing.
while. I think Netflix started in the 90s or something, like late 90s.
Netflix?
No, not I'll look that it up. early.
Netflix. Whatever happened to that company?
I don't
I
know.
still have Netflix.
Tuh.
I want you
I
all to
guess
know I
it
went and
the wick of
counted.
nap.
I went and counted all the fanfics featuring Michelle on fanfic.net and on Archives of Our Own, and there are only 48 between the two sites.
Only 48.
Only
I just looked
48.
it up. Yeah, Netflix started August 29th, 1997.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
I forgot because of all the DVD rentals. I completely forgot.
I know, it's so crazy that people don't even remember.
Oh, I remember the Netflix DVDs. Is that what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
When I first started using them, I had to get them all the way from California.
And you had to wait in line to get the next copy.
Yep.
I love how Emily will say a name and then Richard will have the story. It's very, very like partner. Like Emily, name, Richard, story. I love that about them.
Did Richard just call a blunt a marijuana cigarette?
Yes.
Oh my god.
You know, technically some people do make blunts like that, like marijuana cigarette. They'll put the marijuana and then the tobacco from a cigarette in it. So it's like, oh well, I'd call it.
You're right, Carl. It is a really good dynamic, and it shows that they have a long history. And yeah, I love. Look, they're looking at the value of loot.
They know all the tricks. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Everyone hates April because she's a grifter.
Maybe she's sent by Mia.
Oh goodness.
Poor Luke.
In a very terrifying way, this is very sweet.
Does anyone else immediately start singing High School Musical anytime
We're
anybody
all
says we're all
in
together?
this together.
As long as I'm not alone, we're all in this together.
I have not seen High School Musical and feel
One
like I
line
have
up a
been
watch
severely
party.
spoiled.
Oh my
for
god.
that.
Where have you
You know what? Same, John.
Yeah, we totally ruined it for you guys.
I saw it years ago, and I don't think I ever saw the second or third one. And I remember pretty much nothing except that song.
I was in high school when the third one came out.
Oh God.
Oh, is this where the You've Been Gilmored?
Yep.
The GIF, the You've Been Gilmored GIF
Yep.
that I use occasionally comes from. You've been Gilmored.
You know, technically, Lorelai does that as well.
Here it comes. Here it comes. Come on.
Suspense is terrible. I hope it lasts.
Here it comes. Almost there. Come on. Boom!
Boom!
There it was.
Copper
That's what you were
boom!
waiting for, John, the title.
I was kind of hoping that it just like the scene would pass and they wouldn't say it just so you would be very
Just left like
annoyed by
completely confused.
it. Just left hanging.
So Kathy Ann just messaged me saying, "So do we need to do a High School Musical watch?"
100%.
I say so. I say listen.
The
I will
second
have
one
to
is
politely decline. I cannot with those musicals.
With the amount of things that are being proposed as watches, the stress level rises for me to get this feature done
Sorry.
so that
Come
we
on,
don't
John,
put them
TikTok.
so that we don't put them all into the Gilmore Girls world and then I'm spending hours moving everything over.
I think
your
everyone's
time,
willing
we
to
got-
wait a week.
Glee was made here in Lima.
This is funny.
Chris.
Oh,
Oh jeez.
He's
It
going to
happened
be a
today.
parent.
Chill out, dude.
thanks.
I actually
It's
think
actually
he
kind
was
of
right
funny.
here.
Chris. Jeez, man.
He's
Garbage
taken,
man.
Chris.
Well,
This is actually more funny than it is like anything.
Rory specifically, like less than like an hour ago, asked him not to tell mom because she was gonna tell her today, and he couldn't wait like 12 hours.
Right, but it's actually really funny.
That's
It's
consistent.
more than like rude.
I think he's worried about
consistent with his
Lorelai
character.
getting mad at him for knowing and not telling her.
Wait.
yep.
It bothers me that during the scene she's touching her feet so much. That's so gross.
Come on, Hester Brand.
Seventh Heaven did not age well.
Tough. Yep.
That's good news.
Come on, give me the Hester Prynne reference.
Lorelai could have done a better job. I think she knew what she was doing.
Oh yeah,
She could have given a Hester Prynne reference.
She knew what she was doing, and in that way, she totally did not live up to her agreement with Krista.
She's been living with Luke. She just said she's never lived with a guy, but Luke's been living with her for a little while now. So
I don't
always
think
thought that was kind of
Luke's like living there full time though. I think it's like an on and off thing.
Like he sleeps over every now and then,
Oh, I suppose.
like a roommate.
Yeah, he remodeled the house so that he could just sleep over once.
Right.
that was a short one.
Nice. Those were both really nice episodes.
Oh yeah.
Let's grab some time with others out there on the beanbags who'd like to join us on the couch. Come on up.
9
We're
minutes
gonna
to
have a
harvest,
lively
guys.
discussion.
Nikki has some good things to say based on what she's told me in a message.
Mm.
I just want to say that this next episode, I'm not. I don't really care for the next episode.
Okay, Shauna.
Me
Hello,
either,
Kathy
Shauna. I
Ann.
don't
Welcome
like
back.
that episode.
Hi, Kathy Ann. Welcome back.
I missed you guys so much.
Welcome back.
Nikki, you got to come up.
Good to
and,
have you back.
Welcome
back.
I tried
welcome back.
so many times while I was out there to try and get service, even just to listen in, but everything was so chopped. I couldn't, I could hear every fifth word, and I couldn't do it. Yeah, you were telling me about that. I was like, at first I was like, wait, where'd she go? And then I remembered that you said that you were going camping.
So, where should we jump in? Let's rewind back to the
Yes,
first
please.
episode. Fight
I
scene.
love that episode.
So good.
Yeah,
that
Friday
that
night's
The
all
fight
right
scene is
for
incredible.
Friday.
Like, it looks. Is that a one-off? Because it looks like it's a one, a runner
One
or
take.
oneer. Is that what they call it?
Wait,
A oneer?
Yeah, is that what they call that?
A oneer or runner? No. What specifically do you mean?
Like they take it. They
a
did it in
one
one
take.
take.
Which
The
particular
the dinner
dinner.
scene with
the moving the handheld camera scene.
the
Yeah,
handheld
that
camera? Yeah, that was all one. That was
That's what
all
I
one
thought.
take.
Okay,
But that wasn't a
yeah.
really long. That wasn't a really long scene, so it wasn't.
No,
It was.
but
It
still,
wasn't
it's cool that they did
like
that.
It
typically
wasn't
when
Hill
you hear,
House.
typically when you hear somebody talk about oh wow, they did that in a oneer, it's something really impressive,
where
you're walking through tons of different rooms and going back, and
No.
then
Hill
Oh.
House. Hill House.
No,
This
the one scene on Kidding from Showtime. Do you remember seeing that scene a couple years ago? It was circling all over in the screen.
But this was
I'll just give it to you.
technically a oneer, yeah. I think that mostly the impressive part about that was just the real breaking of the style. But now that we know that it's from Husbands and Wives, it makes sense. I mean, and that just makes sense that it would be from some movie that the creators really love. That would make. I mean, there's no other reason to break that convention unless they were referencing something. So that was good. Thank you, Samantha, for bringing that to our attention. That was very perceptive. And of course, you were right about that.
I will say you're always interested in finding out what fan favorites episodes are, and that's definitely a fan favorite just because of the last
Across the board.
Samantha, can you just repeat the name of that
way
movie?
that it's shot.
No, I don't know.
It was me who said it.
I'm sorry. whoever said it, could they repeat the name of the movie that it came from or was
Husbands
inspired?
and Wives by Woody Allen.
Thank you.
I'm glad that they did it on Gilmore Girls because I don't think I would have had access growing up to see that movie of Woody Allen. I didn't really see many Woody Allen movies available in video stores, so I had no chance to
I
watch.
mean, that's probably good to be.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe my town canceled him or something. I don't know. They did do that every now and then.
Yeah, he's like fully cancelled, I guess, now.
So the fight scene, I really loved the fight scene. I will admit, the first time I watched Gilmore Girls, because technically the sixth season was my first full season that I watched live, because I got in the middle of season 5, and I loved this scene. This is actually my favorite scene in the season, and really pulled in like the biggest reason why I watched Gilmore Girls, like the theatrics of it all and the timing out, the whole performance just really, really wowed me as an audience member. I loved how everything formulated, and it just felt like we were right back to what Gilmore Girls is and what it's about, and just like the drama of it all, the tensions that are there, and then the comedy that comes in. It really just summarizes the real humanity of what it's like to be a family. I love that. They're fighting with each other. Emily sharing an anecdote that's funny to them because it's about someone that they all didn't like. You know, it was really, really nice to see. I honestly, 10 out of 10.
I would say, I mean, I also really loved it for its style. Mostly I loved it for its style. The only thing I would say about the family dynamics is that it did feel like the parts of that whole sequence that were overly like everyone laughing and having a really good time seemed like it was in service of the larger style, which was obviously a reference to this movie, Husbands and Wives. Then it seemed realistic to the Gilmores. I've rarely seen that entire family like just having a great time laughing together.
I think it's supposed to be a reference to them finally releasing their tension. Like they don't laugh that way because there's always unspoken tension. But in this scene, they're supposed to have aired out everything. So for a brief moment, the tension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've just seen them argue as hard as they're arguing in those other scenes, and never really saw it lead to that kind of a release. Like I've seen Emily and Richard and Lorelai kind of have at it with each other throughout the series, but I just never saw the other side of it. So that's the only part that's like, you know, I totally get that that idea concept, and I actually think that that's probably what was discussed in the room, and then probably somebody was like, kind of like that sequence in Husbands and Wives. I mean, I'm just guessing because I haven't seen Husbands and Wives, so I don't really know. But if I were to imagine that that's what would lead to this, and then it was like, you know, let's do it like that. It just for me, the overly laughing thing, it just seemed a little different from what I've seen from the family, and so in that way, it felt like more in service of the style than it did actually.
You know what I think
land.
a little bit about that too is that I think that them getting along and the laughing and all of that, I think it was more for fans, because fans had to spend months watching like everybody in this family just like hating one another.
Yeah.
And so
I
think it was more for fans to be able to release their tension as well. I think that
I get that. And it makes sense that people would find that sequence to be like one of their favorite in the season, and some people even said this is my favorite episode of the series. Like especially given how much tension that we've had to sort of endure, how much like dark stuff we've had to endure throughout this particular season. This would be a nice release to finally see these characters laughing together. I guess is something that's really nice.
I mean,
Can
even
I
though
just
they were
say-
drunk during it, it is still good to see.
It's still good to see. I just would like to say that, like, as a fan of Gilmore Girls, I really like, especially going into it, like first go round as a child watching this, I didn't really care about like all the release and stuff. I was just watching for the entertainment, and it was very entertaining and it was very well shot. And all of that stuff happening just made sense. And what Emily did to Shara Hutzberger was straight up hilarious. Like, we laughed about it. So
Yup.
that's why it didn't feel so strange to me to see Rory, who got dragged by Shara Huntsberger, Lorelai, who doesn't like the Huntsbergers, and Richard, who was shook at the fact on how like Mitchum and his whole family handled the Huntsbergers, were laughing at what Emily did to Shara Huntsberger. It was kind of like they all got a win off of what Emily did. So that's why it felt natural and just expected, even though they, fight throughout the series. It was like, okay, well, this kind of makes sense because they don't like the Huntsbergers at this point as a family.
Yeah, I think it's it could be the only time, I suppose, that every single one of them in the four have a shared enemy. They very rarely are on the same page, wanting the same things, but they all hate Shira.
Right.
So I think it's nice to just pull that in.
Yeah, that is fun. Yeah, I mean, I don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the scene immensely, and I enjoyed all of that humor as well. It's just something that I just felt that I wanted to just make a mention of. I don't even think that it's all that big of a deal. That, even if there was like, a heavy emphasis on the style and the concept, I think that.
What was your favorite part of that, John, or your favorite line, if you can remember?
Probably my favorite line is the button on the whole thing. Luke's got a daughter.
That is excellent delivery. Mine is
Is it Luke's? Was it Luke's got a daughter or Luke's got a kid?
Got a kid.
He's got a kid.
He's got a kid. Luke. Yeah.
And then Richard's
'cause
eyes
Richard
popping out of his head.
says- Yeah, Richard says, "How is Luke?" So her response is,
Oh.
"He's got a."
Oh right, how's Luke? He's got a kid. I mean, that was just gold. That was just gold.
Harvest, everyone.
The Paladinos must like Woody Allen, even if the rest of the population doesn't, because they did that whole episode, Scenes from the Mall, that was a lot like this, where she's running through the very, very similar, and it was just like the movie. And I'd like to watch this husbands and wives scene to see how closely it is.
It's funny that you say that about Woody Allen, because of course I was thinking the same. Like when they mentioned that it was husbands and wives, that just crossed my mind. But I think that like Woody Allen's I think that his reputation has really plummeted since the early 2000s. I mean, there were still plenty of people who had problems with him back then, but I think that he had a higher regard, certainly in Hollywood and with writers particularly.
I still like some of his older movies. I don't mean his personal life doesn't.
I mean
his creativity wasn't.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, as a person who was just kind of born after Woody Allen had his little time in the sun, and then I was old enough to be cognizant of entertainment. I really didn't see anything of his. So whenever people mention Woody Allen, I'm like, oh, okay. Because I didn't have any access to his stuff. So I think if I had to watch a Woody Allen movie, I'd probably have to watch it illegally because I don't even know where to find it. Just saying.
Okay. What else?
Yeah. What other parts of the episode of that first episode do we want to chat about? I mean, I feel like
Daily News.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say the
well, the whole
town walk.
Yeah, Paris and that whole thing.
yeah, the whole Paris thing over the course of the 2 episodes is really fascinating.
Hey guys, I don't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to say, I know we don't have to say like when we're leaving, but I just thought I'd say that I'm bouncing like Tigger because I need a nap and I didn't get to have a nap yesterday. But I'll be back tomorrow night and I'll be at Charlie's Watch for Sisterhood of Traveling Fans.
Bye.
So,
Bye.
See you tomorrow,
Bye,
Tasha.
Yep. Bye.
Yeah, I loved that whole Yale Daily News storyline. I thought
Me
that they did
too.
I thought it was really cool that we watched these 2 episodes back to back today, you know, because that it allowed us to see that full arc, you know, of how all of that played out with Paris and
Hey, John.
and Rory. Yes.
Sorry, I'm also gonna be bouncing, but I wanted to run something by you really quickly before I left.
Mm-hmm.
Since we're getting semi close to the revival now, I remember you
Mhm.
said that we were gonna like chop it in half. But do you
Yeah.
think maybe since we're already doing 2 episodes on the weekends, we could do 1 and 2 on like a Saturday and Sunday, and then whatever 3 and 4 on the next Saturday, Sunday, so we don't have to chop them? Because then it's like kind of equivalent to 2 episodes.
Yeah, maybe we can do that. Sure.
Okay.
I'm open to that idea, and then we can fill the week with other things.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
by
thought that
point,
might be easier than chopping it and then all that.
Personally, I'm a fan of that idea, given that we're planning on doing trivia for those as well. So
yeah, and
That would
I
be
know
fine.
by then I fully expect that like that Remarcus in general will be kind of like will be sort of running at full steam in regards to like, you know, scheduling watches in their appropriate places, and so it will leave the week for us to watch other things together and start to build things out. So I like that idea. It's better. I actually wasn't even part of me was also thinking like I don't even know where I would cut the episode, like how we would do that.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Good idea.
All right.
Thanks.
Probably
Cool.
good for the internationals too.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, and great for the internationals, except for the Australians.
See you later, Lily.
It will never be perfect for internationals. Like when we say internationals, what we often mean is Europeans, and the thing is that, you know, it seems to be either one or the other. But also, you know, consider the fact that like when we get watches being scheduled more by Europeans, then it will be one or the other, North Americans or Australians.
I'm gonna make you guys stay up till 3 a.m. like I've had to do. I'm gonna torture you all in return.
Oh, I've been known to do that. So I
could think of
that's something that I fully have the ability to do.
I don't think you ever sleep, John.
I've been getting better sleep lately. Actually, last night I went to sleep at a decent hour. But yeah, especially when I'm building, like when I'm trying to finish some big stuff, I usually pull crazy hours.
I think you're a workaholic, John. And I don't mean it in a totally bad way.
Yeah, not like Paris workaholic.
You work a lot. You
Yeah.
work a lot, is what I mean.
I'm gonna send
Yeah.
you some kernels for being a workaholic, John.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I loved the storyline of the Yale Daily News. It was just very entertaining to watch.
Paris
It
really
was
can't
nice to-
handle pressure.
Paris is a terrible editor.
I think
Yeah.
She's just terrible.
I think we saw a little glimpse of what would happen if Paris were in charge of her own country. She'd be a
Yep.
complete dictator.
Yeah, it would not be good.
Yeah,
But,
I
I mean-
think Bill compared her to Augusto Pinochet, who was a dictator.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
The answer's already
Yeah,
there.
Paris can't handle pressure or anything like that.
So, are we? So,
It was hilarious though, but she can't handle that.
how
love her
does
hot
everybody
little
feel about that? how does everybody feel about that? That she just doesn't have what it takes to do that.
But it seems really weird because when she was in Chilton, she was the editor of the Chilton paper, and she was able to pull that off pretty well.
Yeah.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
But
true.
she had really close group of friends who kind of
Yeah.
maybe buffered her from the rest.
And
Do
she
you think
also
that
had a
might be what's
teacher.
missing here?
So
Yes.
she also
Is
had
There
it-
was
There
also
was
a,
also
a teacher supervising that too, though, right? So
there was a
there
teacher
is like an
supervising
extra.
it. Yes, there was a teacher supervising it, and on top of it, I think that probably what they're also getting at here is that like this is a different world. Like the world of Yale and university is like it is a stress level and a pressure to perform that far exceeds anything that would have ever been at Chilton. I guess, I mean, I like it for the comedy, and I think that for the narrative, it gets us to where we need it to go, which is ultimately this felt like more than anything, it was about getting Rory into the position of editor at the paper. But I sort of thought that to a degree, it was kind of at the expense of the Paris character, who was presented like mostly in like an over the top comical fashion, and the character didn't really get to do what I think she could do well. I think she has shown that she can be a good editor.
So
Yeah.
then let's.
So I don't know how I
She's a
enjoyed
good
it for
writer,
its
too.
comedy. Yeah, I enjoyed it for its comedy, and like I get that it got us to where, narratively where we needed it to go. But the fact that like Doyle was the editor before and he was a successful editor, and then like, wow, it's really exciting. Now she's going to be the editor and he's at the paper, it's a kind of a little bit of a shame that like that they just sort of made her this just kind of this just over the top almost clown of a character who just like can't do it at all.
I think
Could
that
this be
she
a nod that they felt that it was nepotism that got her into the role? Because I mean, it went from Doyle straight to her, and we don't really see any evidence that her work is all that much better than anyone else in the paper.
She did
That's
say
like,
when
we
she.
don't.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say we don't know if they actually voted her in as editor, so it could have been like complete nepotism.
I think we do hear that they vote when she tells Rory at Rory's birthday party. She says that she got a sympathy vote because she was suddenly poor because her parents were arrested.
Yeah, I got the sense that she was voted in, so maybe it was from that line. Yeah, I don't know.
I think that her
I thought it was unfortunate that like Doyle didn't seem to struggle at all with the role, and she just like she struggled, but like in like almost this like kind of clownish fashion. It was just like really over the top, and it felt like it was more it was a little bit more about getting us to Rory in that position. I don't know. I don't know exactly how I feel about it, except that like, yeah, I thought it was funny and whatnot. But like, I guess I kind of would have liked for her to have been a bit more competent at the job.
I think I also kind of would have wanted to see Doyle just a little bit pulling Paris back a little bit.
Yeah,
Like, hey,
totally.
we're here to help you.
Yeah.
And like all of a sudden he just dropped off the face of the earth.
Exactly. And that also speaks a little bit more to this idea that like, this really was about how do we get Paris out of this role?
I think that her perfectionism gets the better of her. Like once she gets into college, like in Chilton, she found everything easy, and it was easy for her to be a perfectionist because she was like at the top of her game. But in college, everything's more difficult. It's more work, and like her level of perfectionism meant that she wanted to do all of the work herself because she didn't feel like everyone else was good at.
Could that be because she lost her safety net of mom and dad's money? So she knew she had to make it on her own?
Oh, so maybe that changed. That particular change like has her breaking down in a way that like she wouldn't have done before.
We should probably also notice
if that was the case, I would have liked to have heard that. Like if that was part of why things are different or why Paris kind of is now at an extreme here. It would have been nice to at least have reminded us of that. And then we
Well,
could
we
have been
saw
like,
it a
oh,
little bit at the event that Rory planned, and how Paris couldn't handle being a server, and she thought she was better than the servers that were there. And
yeah, no, totally. I get that. I mean, in this episode, like seeing her like falling apart like this, like seeing her falling apart, it might have been really nice if like in that scene between her and Rory in the room, like in her little war bunker, you know, if like she had just mentioned really quickly, like, you know, how hard it is without having the money and needing to succeed, then I might have been like, oh, that's why she's like at her absolute like rock bottom worst that I've ever seen her before and cannot do this. Like this has to do with the fact that like she is in a place to that where she just doesn't have any kind of support system outside of herself.
I wanted to know, John, if you got that explanation, do you think that it would have like decreased the level of humor in the story?
Not necessarily, because I think that like most of the humor was in like her interactions with the other people. That could have been like a really great little campfire scene between her and Rory that like after all of this humor just would have just given us a little bit of some feels, you know.
Just to mention that Paris did mention when Rory was talking to her, well, technically counseling her, but that's beside the point, that she was busy, you know, being, you know, studying to be a doctor and also like to be a judge. So those added pressures of like her aspirations in academics on top of her being an editor as well, and then also like her perfectionism and, you know, her not having the buffers of Madeline and Louise, and, you know, all that stuff, it does all contribute to factors of what happened.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah. Should we shift over to
April?
Well, April, what's up? Yeah, April. I also want to talk about Christopher and Logan. April, well, I mean, there wasn't really much of April in the episode, other than like, you know, sort of from afar, but like the April that is sort of like hanging in the air between Luke and Lorelai obviously is a big thing.
Yeah, the omnipresent April, the April that's always there but is never there.
Yeah, right. The omnipresent April. You know, I'm like watching this for the first time, trying my best to sort of not really know what's coming based on like just I mean, well, I don't really totally know for sure. I could be wrong about this, but my gut tells me that just from what I remember like on set, that the April storyline doesn't get as deep as I would like for it to go. Like if I knew nothing at all about the show, feeling the way that I'm feeling right now, I would really like to see like Lorelai embrace April a little bit more. Like I would like to see like Lorelai try to develop a relationship with her.
Yeah, I wish that was something that could happen, but it seemed as if like Luke kind of didn't want her around. I mean, like if you remember,
that's a problem. Yeah, I think that's a problem. Yeah. That's part of the problem between the characters. Now, obviously, that's not a problem in the writing. I think that creates tension. But like, I would hope that what we're kind of like moving towards is something where like, you know, Anna Nardini and Lorelai get a scene together, where April is like invited over to watch movies with them, and we start to see the April character develop a relationship with Lorelai that like kind of reminds us a little bit of her relationship with Rory.
Well, and
Would you
Rory
want
being a
her-
stepsister when Luke and Lorelai are husband and wife. So what about Rory?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. That would actually even be cooler, to be honest with you. That would actually be more interesting than Lorelai and April. Because if Lorelai and April develop a relationship, that might actually get like kind of conflict a little bit with the like, maybe not, because we don't really know much about her as a character, but like with the Anna Nardini character, it might actually be more interesting if like somehow Rory were to become friends with her and like were to almost like be a little bit of like a mentor. It would be hard because she's at Yale and she's not really in the area to do that, but like I don't know, maybe April like comes to Yale, like she's super academic and she's super interested in it and like wants to maybe go to Yale or something, and that kind of, you know, gives an opportunity for Rory to maybe show her around the campus, and then they become kind of buds or something. That would be something interesting and fun that wouldn't be as obvious and could be this really nice like, oh, that's how this family is going to come together. It's actually going to be between the two daughters that find this common ground because they're both like smart and special and academic.
Yeah, John, I think like that's the thing that does bother me about the storyline even more is just the amount of opportunity that could have happened if, you know, like,
well, don't
just
spoil
going
it
off
for
of
me.
this episode.
Well, don't spoil that.
No, I'm going off of this episode.
Oh, I'm expecting that kind of stuff to happen. I'm hoping it does, but kind of feeling like
no. Look, I'm hoping it does too. I'm gonna treat it just the same as you. I don't know what the heck's gonna happen later on, but like that's the thing that bothers me about the storyline right now is just the fact that like Lorelai isn't able to embrace April. I mean, you see a clear, obvious sign of that in the scene where she's in the Taylor's ice cream shop and she's watching from afar Luke and April being in the same room, interacting with each other and stuff. Like she is watching April the same way that the townspeople are watching April.
Feels like the and Patty and Babette are asking her what April's like, and she can't tell them because she doesn't know.
Right.
They're surprised she hasn't met her.
Painful. That's
yeah, that
painful.
breaks my heart. And you could totally see how much Lorelai wants to get to know April, especially in the next scene when Luke is complaining about the town, you know, constantly like spying on her and like looking through the window, just like gawking at her, doing her homework. And he's like, well, you understand, you know that I need time with my daughter and you're not bugging me, whatever. And like, she's like, oh yeah, I do. But you could see like the clear like devastation on her face because she really wants to get to know April because she's such a huge part of Luke's life. Like she really wants to get to know her.
Yeah, so as a viewer, I would like for her to get to know April. Like I really want that to happen. And I'm hoping that happens, but feeling less hopeful just based on my own memory of like production and feeling like the April character isn't as big of a character as I feel she would need to become in order for that kind of stuff to start happening. I mean, we're only what, how many episodes away? Like 8 episodes away from the end of the season.
Yeah, we're on. Next one is episode 50.
Question.
And I
John.
don't-
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Would
So
you
sad.
want Lorelai to force her way in, or would you want her to wait for the invitation from Luke?
I want Luke.
I would want her to force her way in with Luke. Like I wouldn't want her to just, you know, go and hang out with April without his approval. But I think that she needs to ask him. I think that she needs to say like, hey, this is clearly very important to you. And if I'm important to you, then you'll understand why I want to be a part of this, even in some way, some small way.
What's always bothered me about these interactions in these past few episodes between Lorelai and Luke is that Luke is not that dumb. How is he so clueless that he cannot see what's written all over Lorelai's face? Like whenever April's brought up, Lorelai her face says exactly how she's feeling. And I don't know if Luke is pretending he doesn't notice or if he legitimately doesn't notice, but it frustrates me.
Well, this may speak to actually what Carl was talking about yesterday, where he was, or some folks were talking about how they felt like this was not characteristic of Luke. And I think I might be in agreement on that particular point. This does seem kind of like, wait, come on, man. Like, you can't even see that. That's like just so completely obvious.
Normally, all he has to do is look at her, and he knows what she's thinking.
They've been friends for so long.
Right.
Whoa, wait a minute. They've been friends for a long time, but Luke has been crushing on that woman for like a decade. And it was very clear that like all he has to do is look at her and know what's going on. Literally season 2 with Christopher, he looked at her, he knew that there was something going on. That's why he has such intense emotions when it comes to Christopher, because he already knows what's going on. That's why this storyline and what's going on right now, it doesn't make sense to me as an audience member of what Luke is doing and him not being obvious on what Lorelai is giving. Lorelai is not sneaky. Yeah, like Lorelai is not sneaky with her emotions. She always tells people her emotions. She's very upfront about it. She sucks at covering them. As a person from the Midwest, where like we cover our emotions a lot of the time so that we don't come off as rude, Lorelai is very rude with her and her emotions. She's very loud and obnoxious about it. She's very selfish with it. So like, it just doesn't make sense to me as an audience member why Luke just doesn't get.
He's too focused on the new relationship in his life, and he is afraid of screwing this up.
I also think that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You can go. It's fine.
I was just gonna say, I also think that Lorelai definitely deserves credit here, because it would not be easy to sit down and watch your significant other form a relationship with somebody that you're not allowed to interact with.
Absolutely.
Luke always takes time. That's part of the things that's one of the things I don't love about the character of Luke. He always needs so much time. And I mean, I get that he needs time, but he's not good at telling Lorelai why he needs the time or communicating it. He just kind of awkwardly takes it, and then it causes a rift between them. So.
I think that Luke's like, a classic man in that respect, like not raised to know how to express his emotions, or maybe he doesn't really understand what he's feeling himself. And the whole April thing's like thrown him for a loop, and he's not sure how to react to it or like what the best way to go about it is.
Should we also remember that because he's been on his own without his parents for a while, he doesn't really have a great, it's kind of a hermit. He doesn't really have a great sounding board. So unless he were to go to Buddy and Maisie and say, I need some help here, he's just trying to process it all on his own.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and that is a fair point. And that does speak to what I was sort of saying yesterday about Luke, which is if he's going to be at his worst and he's going to be regressed like in his journey, it's going to be at a point when things are the most like crazy, different, stressful for him than they've ever been. So like, as much as we want to be like, oh, he always knows Lorelai. He knows what she's thinking. He's listened to that self-help, course. He should be, seeing her face all the time. If there's one time where he's just not getting it, it would probably be when things are just like when his whole world has been turned upside down all of a sudden, which finding out that you have a daughter would be probably a good time, narratively speaking, for a character's life to be sort of turned on its head. And yeah, who does he have to help him out of something like that? Other than Lorelai, but she doesn't really count because she's part of what's, sort of like he doesn't have, what we would kind of consider in traditional storytelling, the hero's journey, as an example, this sort of guardian character or mentor character. The closest would be Liz, who he did have a little conversation with, you know, a person that he can that can like have these like campfire scenes with the character to help joggle them out. Lorelai doesn't really fit that bill because she's sort of a part of it. She's part of his larger. She's more of the boon. She's the thing that he's trying to get to. And so he's a little lost right now. And because of it, Lorelai is suffering. But if he did have somebody to like sort of joggle him out, who would it be? Like Liz, I think, could be one. Could be fun if it was Kirk.
I was just about to say that because I mean, Kirk may not be full of wisdom, but he and Luke are like, even though Luke probably would admit to it, I feel like they're like really good friends.
It would be fun. It would be fun if it was like, if you took that, like, you know, that archetypal sage character and you gave it to Luke, you gave it to Kirk in the context of Luke, but it was all accidental wisdom. Right. So like,
I feel like
you know, so like everything that he says is really important. It's important for the character to sort of, you know, suddenly understand, like Jess performed that role of the sort of sage character in Rory's journey recently, you know. If you had Kirk doing something like performing that same role for Luke, but it was all accidental, like all of the stuff that he's saying does end up joggling something for Luke, but Kirk didn't necessarily like mean to say it, you know, or mean to be that, you know, that kind of sage character. That could be really funny. That I wouldn't expect something like that. But Liz seems like she's like the obvious choice because she is sort of salt of the earth, very grounded, like, you know, she loves him. She does seem like she has experience and wisdom to impart. And so I sort of feel like
she's also the first person he told before he told Logan.
Yeah, the problem is that he's already had that conversation with her, and so I know that she's not going to have another one with her. I mean, maybe he will, but it feels like that would be kind of redundant, and so for that reason, I'm worried that like Luke is going to have a hard time getting out of this, you know, or seeing what needs to be done here.
Maybe it would be that friend Ed that he talks about.
Ed.
He's talked about my friend Ed a couple times.
Yeah, he's the guy who, when Nicole he and Nicole split, Luke had tickets to a baseball game. That's the guy he gave the tickets to.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think I like Kurt better though.
Should we pivot to or did we want to talk any more on this? Did anybody have any other specific insights or thoughts on that particular dynamic? I'm curious to see how it's
the only thing that I could think of with Luke, and again with the storyline, is that I don't know, it just seems like for a man his age, if you tell a woman that you have a depressive day, like your dark day, I personally expect you just to be like open with her with everything else. That's just me. That's what I've seen in my life. But again, this is television. This is the character. This is how it was written. So I just got to throw my hands up and just be like, whatever.
I wish it would have been Taylor as his like confidant, because like, sorry if you can hear this fan going. I'm trying to get ready for the day, but Taylor has always like, he seems to have known Luke a long time and like knew his father. And so as like somebody who was older than him, I would have thought that would have been an interesting choice, like for them to put aside their differences for a hot second and like hear maybe so we could have gotten more of Taylor's backstory as well.
Yeah, my only thing about Taylor is that he's just so unsavory and he's so unlikable. I mean, you know, we love to hate that character, that it's hard for me to imagine how I'd feel like because those sage characters, they always do seem to really care about the person, about the hero. You know, they seem to want to help the hero find their path again. And Taylor just seems like he's so into himself.
So I was just gonna mention about when you were saying one more thing. I have to say I'm kind of surprised by Luke's naivete at the way the town reacted. He should know by now that everybody in the town is going to be in his business and is going to be in April's business. And bringing April to the diner is not exactly keeping her out of the limelight.
Totally. That's a good point. Yes.
And then on top of that, the idea that he doesn't expect Babette and Patsy to be all over it, because he goes to them for information sometimes, and Lorelai goes to them for information.
Oh yeah, Babette and Miss Patty.
Yeah, and that's part of what makes this whole storyline disappointing for me, is that he lets April come to the diner and he tells Lorelai she'll be here between 5 and 8, so I'll see you after 8. But he expects nobody to gossip, nobody to be interested, and it's just so strange that he doesn't want to let her in on something that's so public in that way.
Well, see, okay. The thing about not letting Lorelai in, I just see that as he's just blinded by this whole situation. Like, that doesn't bother me. I get if it bothers other people or it doesn't feel realistic. But this idea that he wouldn't be aware of the town's feelings of it, and bringing her there to the diner, and like her being the only one there in the diner with him, they're all looking through the window. I can agree with you there. That feels a little heavy-handed and doesn't seem to feel totally realistic.
Yeah, it's just it's one of the things that and now that you're aware that there's this storyline happening, I can say, when you asked me if I liked season 6 a few episodes ago, and I was kind of like, yeah, I do, but I can't talk to you about it now. This is why. It's this particular storyline that I don't enjoy the way they wrote it overall. I think they could have done so much more with how they introduced the character and how she interacts with the existing characters and things like that. And I get that it's kind of a conflict kind of building thing in a way from what it comes to at this point. But I actually kind of like the character of April. I just don't like how the writers handled it.
I like her too. I don't have a problem with the fact that he's not bringing her. I don't have a problem with, narratively speaking, I don't have a problem with the fact that he's keeping it from Lorelai, or he's not really seeing the obvious that he needs to bring her in more. I just think that to me, that feels believable in the context of a guy who's just completely scrambled right now. And I think it creates a tension that I enjoy. I will say that it goes a little too far for me with some of this, what you're pointing out with the town and whatnot. And if that kind of continues, if we start to see more unbelievable stuff like that, him, helping her with her homework in like an empty diner while everybody's looking through the window, then I could see how that would start to get annoying. But if it's really just about the fact that he's not letting Lorelai in on all of this and that he should see this and it's so obvious, I'm not there yet, because I actually think that it does work, and I think that it creates a narrative conflict and tension that is, for me, it's adding to my enjoyment of like the narrative. It's getting me excited to see what's going to happen next.
God, you just love the conflict. I love it. I love how much you enjoy the conflict.
But that's because I want the conflict to be resolved, right? It's not like I just want to see people fight. It's because when you see
You like the
conflict,
build up. That's what I mean.
you're,
You
yeah,
really
you want the build
enjoy
up,
it.
and because it means that when it's resolved, it's going to feel all that much better, you know? And so my hope is that it resolves. Obviously, if it doesn't resolve, then there's going to be a problem. Then I'm going to not be very happy. But that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I just always felt like when I first watched this show 100 years ago now, I just felt like when they introduced this character, because I don't have problems when they introduce new characters and things. I just thought it was kind of I thought it was strange that April's mother wouldn't have told Luke about her, because he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that you wouldn't tell. And then because he seems like a good guy and he'd probably be a good dad and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was strange. And then there's just little things that I thought, oh, they could have just done this storyline so much differently. Could have been, I always wished it was done differently. That's all. I like the character of April.
Let's dig a little deeper into all of that when we get to the end of the season, because then I'll have more context. I'll have a little bit more that I can share my feelings of it, because I can't really, I'm sort of telling you how I feel about it right now, based on what I've seen right now. Right now, with the exception of what you're pointing out in regards to the town, it doesn't feel unbelievable to me. It definitely feels like it feels like a bummer, and but that's what keeps me watching. I would like I said, I would like to see the April character become more like I want to see them do more with her. I want it to grow. I want all of this to grow.
Yeah, John, I agree with that as well. Yeah, but I will admit, when we get to the season finale of season 6, I will most likely be heavily focused on something that most of the people will not really talk about. Maybe we'll see what happens, but there's something that happens in the last episode of the season that I am obsessed with. And just to give you a hint, the Lalas. So that's that.
Oh, so they're like, and we're talking Lalas. It's not Papas.
It's all of it. It's all of it, friend.
So it could actually it could be you could be talking about something that's not necessarily Lala or Papa.
Where's the Chugga Chuggas?
Or Chugga Chuggas.
Not the
or grungy Lalas. It's something different.
They always come up with a new kind of Lala or Papas for us each season, it seems like. So yeah.
Yeah, like it's
I think
nice
that the ones that I'm really digging lately are the
really drawn out ones.
Yeah, it's like those are I call those the drunk papas. They're just completely wasted.
John, do you realize you actually have a pretty good singing voice?
Sometimes it's better than others.
This morning when you were singing, I was like, he's actually pretty good.
I'm telling you, John, if you ever go into the music entertainment, I want you to go as Jonathan.
What?
Jonathan?
As Jonathan?
Jonathan, yes.
Jonathan.
You can work with Rosalia. Oh my God, if you work with Rosalia, look, all the kernels will be yours.
Really? You'll send me your entire balance of kernels.
If you work with Rosalia, absolutely.
You'd be huge in the Mexican market.
Okay, pop it.
I'll send you all my kernels if you're big in the Mexican market. There.
I don't want you sending me all your kernels. All right.
John, maybe you can do a cover of all the Lalas, Papas, Chugga Chuggas, and
oh my gosh,
you can make your own little release of the cover.
That should get me some kernels. I feel like that could be. I'm already thinking of what would be some really funny, fun viral videos that I could do as as we're closing in on the season finale to draw even more attention on the project. Do you think a viral video of me doing all the Lalas in my own interpretation of all the Lalas, do you think that would work, or that would be cool?
You could do John's favorite Lalas. It'd be fun. I'd watch it. I'd watch it. I'll tell you right now.
I mean, I'm still down with the collab with Kai though. I still think that's a pretty good poll.
Oh yeah, no, Kai and I this was just one of my favorite parts of both episodes.
Logan?
I really liked the Logan Christopher scene. I just really did. I don't know why I really liked it. I liked that they were like playing with like these characters are very similar. I don't know how I feel about that. I do know some people in this fandom think that Christopher is, what's the word again? Help me out.
Basura.
I was hoping that Regina was going to chime in. She's right now running across her apartment. She's doing a
She just said it
somersault.
real quietly, I think.
But then, you know, it's sort of, but like, I know that the fandom, you know, like largely, you know, I would say the majority does not like Christopher.
I
But
just
I would
don't
say that
like him with Lorelai.
but then I would say that the opposite is true for Logan. That actually a very large portion of the fandom likes Logan, and this scene shows how similar those characters are in so many ways, in all these different nuanced ways. And I'm curious, like, why? Like, you know, we've got one character that like is sort of universally disliked in the fandom, and then another one that is largely liked in the fandom. Obviously, if you're somebody who does not like Logan, like I get that you might not have a big.
Hey, Samantha.
Yes.
Go ahead,
Samantha.
Samantha.
I'm sorry. Can I throw something here? I've always seen Christopher and Logan kind of similar too, and I am one of those who don't like Christopher but like Logan. But then recently I read something that it's a theory that I can go behind, and it's that maybe Logan and Rory are actually a parallel with Richard and Emily. And I find that intriguing.
That's a new one for me. I haven't
Yep,
really
I
heard that
like
one.
that theory.
Interesting.
Years, and
That's very, very interesting.
I love that
The
theory.
straws.
But I can't go into it deeper because that will give major spoilers. So
We have somebody on Instagram Live, Jovi Genovi, who just mentioned that they are very bored right now with us.
Okay.
They don't like the Logan talk.
Maybe they should join and talk.
I just had to mention. I just looked over at my Instagram Live and I just saw, I'm bored.
Okay, who wants
Jovi
to
Genovi, you gotta
John?
join us on Clubhouse and
Yeah,
contribute
it's
to
a
the
very different.
conversation.
It's a very different experience. Oh, there's.
I don't
now
like
they're
when
saying,
people do that.
no, they're not bored.
So I have an
Okay.
interesting observation from the Chris and Logan interaction.
Yes.
What has never made sense to me is they have this big long banter about the various boarding schools that they went to and were kicked out of. And what doesn't make sense to me is if Chris was off at all these various boarding schools, how were him and Lorelai ever at the same school and were able to be together?
I didn't interpret it that they were at the same school. Because
Yeah, they had the same uniform.
Yeah, they have
I
the
know,
same
but-
uniform on.
But I guess maybe I'm wrong about this, but I know that a lot of boarding schools actually will be all boy or all girl boarding schools, and they're like brother sister boarding schools. So they're like actually different boarding schools. They're different boarding schools, but they like kind of are linked. That's the way it was where I grew up. There were like always these like all girls and all boys schools that were kind of related to one another. And so the girls from that school and the boys from that school always saw one another. And like they interacted with one another because of the relationship between the two schools.
But they do make references about being in the same school.
So are you saying, John, that you
Yeah.
think that Lorelai and Chris both went to some private schools that were at the same time, maybe? Or do you think it's that, now I said to Nikki when she mentioned this to me in a chat earlier, I said maybe that Chris got shipped off to boarding school after he got Lorelai pregnant and for his last 2 years, because they were only 15, 16 years old. So they would have been sophomores, maybe juniors. But I don't know.
I'm actually missing. I'm getting that wrong. Boarding school. I'm just thinking private school. I guess you're right. Like were they talking in the scene boarding schools, meaning schools that you actually there you go. Okay.
So that's what doesn't
it.
make sense to me, because I always understood that Lorelai went to a local private school and that Christopher was at that same school. So if he was away at boarding school, then how did that happen?
Well, we're going to pretend that we're going to pretend that the writers didn't make any mistakes here, and I'll stick with that theory, which is he went to boarding school after they found out that Lorelai was pregnant as like punishment, and it was just only his last 2 years of high school that were boarding schools.
I love suspending my belief.
Is different. My explanation is he was kicked out of boarding schools before he met Lorelai. And in their, like, his parents started off shipping him boarding school when he was young. And when they were finally at their last wit's end, they tried the local schools so they could watch over him. And he met Lorelai. And because he met Lorelai, he behaved.
It's a
this
definite
is,
possibility.
This is a really interesting one.
This should be a fast talk.
Go ahead, Mandy.
I was just saying this should be a fast talk. Somebody should do a fast talk on theories.
So, by the way, I'm going to clarify. I just want to make right here on Jovi Genovi. It was a language thing. Jovi Genovi is from Germany and was trying to explain that they are just in general bored and have come on to Instagram Live to liven up their day. And we are of course doing that for them. And also wanted to clarify that Jovi Genovi is right now at the moment also hungry.
Go get yourself something to eat.
I have a bowl of fruit if you want some.
Jovi, you should really come join us on Clubhouse. We're having a really good time.
You should. It's so much fun.
This Instagram live feed is really just playing through. Like we're just giving you the audio, but we're actually in a Clubhouse room together, all chatting, watching the show together. It's a lot of good fun. If you go to that website that's there, remarcus.com, you'll get more information on the project, and you can find our invite link to Clubhouse and into our Clubhouse room, and then you can come on in and join us in some of these discussions live. Or if you don't want to, you can also just hang out on Instagram Live and hear it. More like a podcast.
Sausage and peppers at my house later. Come on.
Yeah, I just love that scene. I just thought that was really cool, but it did have me thinking about that. That's an interesting theory, Samantha, but the thing there is it still doesn't change the fact that I really see Logan very similar to Christopher, and that I feel like at the very least that scene was trying to make that apparent. Like there's no other scene in the series yet that has been that clear to the audience,
like
that
showing that Chris is from Logan's world.
Yeah, not just that like the two characters talk alike, think alike, joke alike, have had these past histories that were alike. And here's what I'll say is it possible that the two characters are very alike, but that it's actually the fact that Lorelai and Rory are so unalike that actually sort of changes the character or changes our perception of the character? That if somebody like a Lorelai was with Logan right now, that Logan would potentially start doing the things that Christopher does, would start in our eyes start to fall into a lot of the Christopher trappings and whatnot, and that it's Rory that brings out a part of Logan. Because we also, have talked about how the Logan character has changed dramatically in our, at least in my eyes, since I first met him. And back when I first met him, he wasn't with Rory. He was a bachelor. He was like just a single guy, just, you know, having fun, right? And so that also has sort of changed the character in my eyes.
Yeah,
He didn't seem to have anybody that he was in love with, right? I guess is what I'm saying. Now that he has somebody that he's in love with, he's sort of changed. And the fact that he's in love with Rory, right? Whereas like Christopher, like what would Christopher be like if he had never fallen in love with anybody and he was just, you know, like a wild guy with his friends?
Do you think that Rory grounds Logan a little bit, kind of brings him back down to a little bit more of a college age reality as opposed to just a rich boy player out there in the world doing whatever he likes?
I think so.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but then the question is like, could Lorelai never ground Christopher?
I don't think so. No.
I don't think so either. I don't think that Lorelai is a person who grounds others.
They need to ground themselves.
But I think that Christopher is more grounded than Lorelai, because I mean, he was willing to marry her and move into the house and, you know, start working with Richard. And, you know, that scene where you see Strobe and Francine fighting with Richard and Emily, and they're in the stairwell. Like, I mean, Christopher looks very small and very weak, you know, and it's Lorelai that's like, excuse me, like, no, this is our lives. They can't dictate what we're doing. So I actually think that Christopher is a pretty weak person.
Very sheeple, yes.
And which means Emily was right.
Oh,
You mean like she called him weak?
Yeah, he's very weak and he's very influenced by people around him. I don't think he has much of his own opinions, and I think he's very malleable and you can essentially steer him however you want.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And Logan is not like.
Maybe Christopher's a pleaser, where he just wants to please the people that he wants to be in the good graces over that he loves. And that's why he's able to be kind of manipulated in those ways, or he's more malleable. Maybe that's where Rory gets that I want to please people aspect comes from Christopher.
You know what? I just looked up the definition of grounded on Google, and it says, like, for someone so young, Chris is extremely grounded. That was one of the sentence examples.
No. Did we lose you, John? Did we lose you? Are you talking with your mute button on?
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
So before you guys were mentioning High School Musical, what was the first thing that that Zac Efron was in? What was
Firefly. I know that one. Firefly.
Yup.
Also, so Rory, I see her as like, you know how like she's a people pleaser and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I kind of got that off of her mom, like having a service job. Because most times when I've met kids who have parents who have service jobs, they be big people pleasers.
Right, but Lorelai doesn't do things just to appease somebody else or please them. Like just because her mother might be interested in her doing something, she didn't just do it. Where Rory was willing to do things because it wasn't really a big deal to her, but it was to the other person. Right. And I don't see Lorelai being that way. And so but Christopher is. So that's why I was saying maybe Rory gets that from Christopher, where Lorelai isn't as much like that. I'm not saying that Lorelai doesn't do things sometimes to please somebody or something, but she's less inclined to. She's more about just doing what she wants to do, where Rory will sometimes do what she wants to do, but she is also willing to do something somebody else wants her to do if it's going to make them happy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, I noticed that Lorelai, like they would mention that Lorelai had these jobs where like she turned down beds and stuff like that, and I'm sure that Rory probably took that as, oh, okay, like that's a good thing to do, so I'll do that or whatever. Like when she was younger, yeah, like it was a job, and then like with Rory, she kind of probably saw it as like some type of way of life, and then by the time, Lorelai was a manager and stuff like that, Rory was already old enough to be like, oh, well, this is what you're supposed to do in the world. Like, she was in her teens by then. So that's maybe, again, I could be grasping at straws, but I was just thinking that maybe that's probably why, she's such a people pleaser.
Yeah, I don't know. But we've talked about Rory being kind of a people pleaser in the past, so that's why I was just kind of thinking about it now, that maybe that's what Chris is. And that's why he appears to be more weak than Lorelai and things. But I don't know.
Yeah, I could see how she gets it from her dad. I could also see how she gets it from like her relationship with her grandparents, because it's tense between her grandparents and her mom. So she's just trying to diffuse the situation by pleasing everyone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She definitely was the buffer. Oh, you're back, Tom.
Welcome.
What's up?
We were waiting for you to respond earlier, but we're like, are you talking to your mute
Oh,
button, or-
I was actually talking to, if you're on Instagram Live, I was actually talking to Jovi Genovi.
Oh, okay.
Who asked a very important question. If you have 17,000 followers on Instagram Live, why are there only 2 people in this room listening to this Instagram Live thing? To which I explained to them that, in fact, our stream does get a lot of people, hundreds of people actually pass through there during these episodes. They all stay for literally 2 seconds before they're like, what is this? And then they leave. Most people don't really know what's going on the Instagram Live. And I think in general, if you open up an Instagram Live and you just see an iPad with a bunch of text on it, your instinct is to just immediately turn it off. So I expect that that's really what's going on.
Well, Jovi should just come join us here live on the Clubhouse, and then they can interact with all of us together.
Come on, Jovi Genova.
That's what that is what I was explaining. So I'm actually gonna make some folks moderators, and then I'm going to
You're gonna go take a nap from working
I'm
so
not gonna
hard?
take a nap. I think I'm gonna hang out with my daughter and
Even better.
just
Get her on those Tim Tams. Or is she too young for those?
some Tim Tams.
Is she too young for Tim Tams still?
I believe. Shuts, is she too young for Tim Tams? Can we give her some Tim Tams? We're not allowed to give her Tim Tams.
I mean,
Fancy. I
heard
don't
the
have
big
children,
cat
so I don't
yelling
know the ages.
That's more of a running joke. There's there's constantly I'll be like, can I give her this pickle? No. I have a picture of her yesterday. I was holding a can of beer. I had not opened the beer yet, but she grabbed the beer and tried to try to suck on it, and it looks like she's drinking my beer.
Oh no!
What a good influence.
Yeah, I have to send that picture to my mom, who I'm convinced is going to be just beyond herself horrified.
She's gonna
be
just
at your
die
front
from that,
door
right?
before you know it.
Yeah, I love doing those little funny pranks. Okay. Making some folks moderators. I will be back tomorrow for more fun in the sun.
There's 2 movies scheduled for today, by the way. If you guys haven't looked at the events, I think it's 2 of them out there.
Today, yeah, Casablanca and then Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants tonight.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Oh, something that I wanted to somebody sent me a back channel message. It was a question. It was Cindy actually asked this. So I'm going to answer for her now to explain it a little bit, because I often get these messages from folks that are like, hey, the timer is still running. And I usually am like, oh, okay, yeah. It doesn't really, I don't really think about it much, or I'll maybe I'll go in and I'll stop it. But I didn't realize that some folks are worried that maybe the timer running could potentially be causing some problems. And so Cindy was asking, does it take up space on the app? Is it possibly slowing things down? The answer is no, absolutely not. The way that the timer works is really, really basic. It when I press the play button, it just timestamps, the exact time at which, the exact time, like according to your phone, when I started the timer. So now that timestamp is there. And then your phone is just simply calculating the difference between the time now and that timestamp. That's it. So your phone is just doing that. Like there's nothing being stored, there's nothing doing that. And so as long as and then when I press stop, all it does is clear out that timestamp. It just goes away. And so now it doesn't have anything to calculate against. And so then it's just at 0. So if I leave the timer on, it's just I forgot to press the stop button, meaning that like the timestamp's still there, meaning that if you're on that page, your phone is doing some calculation, but it's not slowing down your app all that much. And if you leave the page, your phone's no longer doing the calculation anymore. So there's 0 lag on your phone. Clear?
Clear.
Yes, sir.
Crystal.
Not that I shouldn't turn that thing off. It's just it's not a huge deal if it's left on. It might confuse somebody who comes in like later in the day, like and they see that like it's 8 hours into something, but it's not that big a deal. And then in sometime in the future, I'll set it so that it just like the timer just goes away, and so you don't see it anymore.
One last question.
Yes.
Two-thirds the way through season 6. At this point, which one's your favorite episode of season 6? What stands out to you?
Season 6.
Because I know you're loving season 6, so I'm
yeah.
really interested to.
It's probably. I mean, I think that it's probably the episode with Rory and Jess and Logan.
Oh, it
That's
tops
probably
the USO episode.
Oh my!
The USO episode is also pretty good, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, they're both pretty good.
I was just curious because before it was kind of
the USO. It's probably the USO episode. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, that whole thing with Rory and Jess and Logan was like to me, it was just like, I know it got us talking a lot about those characters, and I think for a reason, because I was just so captivated. Like I just thought that those two scenes between Rory and Jess and then between Logan and Jess were just like firecrackers. They were just so good. They were such great writing. But I mean, I guess probably like the USO episode was like across the board really phenomenal.
You can have a tie if you want. It's okay. I was just kind of curious if after because that was about 1/3 of the way through, and now we're another so many episodes out, and so I was just kind of curious if something had topped that because you seem to really like that one before. So
yeah, I really did like it, and I still do like it. It is still pretty high up there. Actually, I'm coordinating with Mary a hiatus week event where we're going to go through the entire series up until the end of season 6, and we're going to go through episode by episode quickly, and I'm going to just share my memories of the episode and what if it's high up there or if it's low.
Very nice.
So we're figuring that out now. I'll probably have that in the calendar like within the next day or so.
Well, with that in mind, that you like the Jess and Logan episode, then we should probably do a group watch of the movie Marriage Story sooner.
Sure.
Since you're like yelling.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I think that all of us except John, we should do like a prediction of our own, maybe in a channel or in a chat where John isn't part, where John doesn't read. With our prediction of the ranking that John will give to the 3 Gilmore girls at the end of the series. But predicting it now, like I think that at the end of the series, John we'll
Like
have
a
this ranking of the
game.
Gilmore girls.
I
And
think
then
that's
at the
great.
end,
Yeah, some sort of like a fantasy league. You guys can put together some sort of like a fantasy league, and all kinds of questions and stuff, and people can put kernels down, like, you know, and for what they think my answers will be on the various
yes,
questions and
yeah,
stuff.
something like
That would be really fun. Yeah, I'm all in support of it. All right, I'm gonna head out. I'll be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. For episode 14.
Thank you as always.
Thanks, John.
Yes, thank you as always. This was a
Have
lot
a
of
good
fun.
rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.